good, Chitta Rupas would be pleasant. If they are bad, they would be unpleasant. So these Chitta Rupas affect the body, the remaining Utuja body. It affects the Utuja body, and it also it contacts with the Kammaja body. So it affects the entire body. The nature of the Chitta Rupas has a great impact on our body. And since the Chitta Rupas are produced by Chitta Chetasikas, what happens is these, so this comfort or discomfort, we have to say, is given by the consciousness. So this is another way how our consciousness affects our life. Just erase this. Yeah, these Chitta Rupas are produced by the consciousness, right? So, and these Chitta Rupas have an effect upon the entire body. So these are the three ways how they can affect our life. They can affect the mind stream, they can affect the base they associate, and also the entire body by producing Chitta Rupas all over. 1.171. Unwholesome mental factors torment the associating mentalities and the base they depend upon. The person feels as he or she has lost mental tranquility. So when unwholesome consciousness are arising, we feel as our peace was lost. Some of these unwholesome mental factors are called kilesas due to their aforesaid nature of tormenting the associating realities. Kilesas burn the mind stream, they associate mentalities, and also the heart base they associate, because kilesas are found only associate in the heart base. So one of the meanings of kilesas is tormenting. It burns, it gives discomfort to the mind stream and also to the heart base they associate. Upatapana, they create discomfort. Yeah, so then on the other hand, beautiful mental factors found in wholesome and functional consciousnesses bring comfort to their associated mentalities and the Vata Rupa. On the other hand, when the beautiful mentalities are arising, they give comfort. So they have a nature of comforting or soothing the mind stream. That's their nature, and they are called beautiful ones. And also the heart base, which they associate, will also be affected positively by them. This said function is obvious in mentalities such as Lahuta, Mudita. So when you have Lahuta, Mudita, when you have strong Lahuta and Mudita, Passadya and so forth, our entire body and the heart base and also the mind feels very comfortable. At this time, the person feels blissful. There are two ways how mental comfort is given by wholesome consciousness. Now unwholesome consciousness do torment the mind, but the wholesome consciousnesses, wholesome ones, forget about the functional ones as well, wholesome ones, kusala chittupada. This kusala chittupada affects the mental mind stream in two ways. Affects the mind stream in two ways. One is they themselves gives the comfort because they are by nature are capable of making such impact. Then the second way is by suppressing. I'm talking about the mental comfort. Now, for example, this is the mental aspect, mental. These two are physical. Mental aspect is it torments the mind stream itself or comforts the mind stream itself. Physical aspect is the effects it makes upon the body, may it be the heart base or the entire body. May it be the heart base or the entire body. Now, Kusala Chittupada, the wholesome minds, when they affect the mind stream, they can affect the mind stream themselves. The mental aspect is obvious because they have a huge relationship with the entire mind stream. And then the second way is suppressing the defilements, kilesa. The latent kilesas would be suppressed. When latent kilesas are suppressed, this creates a certain blissful, rather than saying a blissful feeling, a kind of a spiritual bliss, which cannot be termed in terms of a reality, of a conditioned reality. Some theras define this as an unconditioned state, this Tadanga Nibbana, like Chandivara Mahatheras and so forth, and also theras like Lady Sayadaw, they define this as an unconditioned state where the mind attains. So this blissful state is felt to the mind. And this is a bliss. This bliss is called Upasama Sukha. Upasama Sukha in Pali. The bliss attained by the suppression of defilements. This is a very special kind of a bliss. When the defilements are active, even though they are not arising in the mind, if they are not suppressed, if they are very closer to the active level, they are constantly affecting our mind stream, even us being not aware of that. We become aware of the existence of defilements mostly when we suppress them. Because when we suppress them, we feel how comfortable our mind is and how far our mind is from defilements. Like we don't get attracted to them. We don't feel like they are going to happen. But on the other occasions, we know our mind is very prone to such defilements. We are very close to such defilements. So at that stage, the mind is constantly affected by the latent defilements. Defilements are mental states actually. Even though they are not happening as chetasika at that level, they are mental qualities. So those qualities are constantly present in us even while we are doing wholesome deeds. That is the anusaya level or the appahina level. And this have a constant effect on our mind stream. That's why our javana chittas even become wholesome kammas. So when these defilements are suppressed by the wholesome chitta, this capturing of the defilements, capturing of the mind by the defilements is gone. And the capturing of the mind by the defilements it gives discomfort to the mind stream. It's not something very pleasant. So what happens is this suppression creates an environment of blissful. This creates a blissful state. Which is called Upasama Sukha. And this is also one of the greater blisses that we can experience in our life with the arising of wholesome consciousnesses. There are two ways how mental comfort is given by wholesome consciousnesses. The comfort given by beautiful mentalities, the comfort felt due to the suppression of defilements, which is called Upasama Sukha. The definition goes as Kilesa Bhupa Samanena Adhigata Sukhang, the happiness that happened or that is there because of the suppression of defilements. Chittaja Rupas, so this is the explanation. Chittaja Rupas produced by Akusala Chittupadas torment the body. At that time, the person feels discomfort. Sometimes this can lead to sweating and darkening the faces as well. So now we move on to the Akusala Chittupadas. Akusala Chittupadas torment the body. At the same time, the person feels discomfort, and sometimes this can lead to sweating and darkening the face. Now, first we discussed about the bliss that is experienced with the wholesome consciousnesses. That is the consciousness, the mentalities themselves can give comfort to the mind stream, and also the person feels blissful by the suppression of defilements. Then the unwholesome consciousnesses. Now we talked about the mental aspect. So unwholesome mentalities, they affect the mind stream, that's obvious, and the wholesome consciousness affect the mind stream in two ways. They directly affect the mind stream, and also they gives the mind a relief by the suppression of defilements. Then we are talking about the bodily aspect, the physical aspect, how they are affecting the physicality. Chittaja Rupas produced by Akusala Chittupada torment the body. At that time, the person feels discomfort. This can lead to sweating and darkening the face as well. Sometimes, due to frequent arising of unwholesome consciousnesses, a person's body can get sick. This is due to the effect of Akusala Chittaja Rupas. Akusala Chittaja Rupas are the Chittaja Rupas produced by Akusala. There are instances in which some beings got sick and even died due to the sudden arising of strong unwholesome consciousnesses. So the literature says, due to sudden arising of a very strong unwholesome consciousnesses has cost the life of some beings. There was a story, a young monk who was at Theravada Mahāvihāra. While he was in the vihara, King Saddhatissa came to the monastery with his harem, with his concubines or his wives. Then one of the beautiful ladies in the harem saw this handsome monk, and they looked at each other and they got lustful feelings. And the lust was so strong, it says that eventually both of them died instantly on the spot. Maybe they felt that they had the feeling that even though they liked each other, they can never be together because he is a monk and she was one of the wives of the king. So obviously, they will never be able to live together in this life. So maybe that also had cost them. That feeling had was fueled by that thought would have been fueled by that thought as well. But anyway, due to strong lust, both of them, it is said, both of them died instantly. And there are many other stories like a strong sudden sorrow or a fear arising in one's mind stream has caused drastic changes in one's body. Some would start to vomit, have vomited blood and suddenly died, and some had strong physical effects that led to sicknesses and so forth. So there are few stories, a number of stories, I would say, that can be found in the literature that how the body got sick or even people died due to the sudden arising of strong unwholesome consciousnesses. A female belonging to King Saddhatissa's harem and a young monk died suddenly due to sudden arising of strong lust while looking at each other. It is mentioned in the literature that Manopadosika devas die looking at each other with envious minds. So there are deities, there are ways that deities can die. One way is sometimes some are excessively involved in playing, like enjoying pleasures in gardens. So they keep on plucking flowers and enjoying with the males and females. And sometimes they forget their meal time, because once they have meals once a day, and that is equal to, in the lowest realm, 50 human years, and in the next realm 100 human years. So it's a long period, so they have to have they should have their meals on time, and that's they have it once a day. And sometimes, due to being indulged in sensual pleasures and keep on enjoying the pleasures, some forget to eat to go to their meals. And this because the pleasures in divine world are very attractive. So they get indulged and they forget about their meals, and suddenly they die and will be born in the human or in a lower realm, whatever another realm. So it's mentioned Gosaka, the Setti Gosaka, the rich man Gosaka, was born in the human realm, being such a deity, and who forgot to eat the meal at proper time. They are called Kiddha Padusika. Kiddha Padusika. So they are the ones who are indulged in playing. Kiddha is playing. Kiddha Padusika. There is another category called Mano Padusika. These are the ones who die due to envious thoughts, due to jealousy. Some deities doesn't like each other's pleasures, the other's pleasures, and they have envious thoughts on them, and due to some reason, they both the parties become angry at each other, and they look at each other with envious thoughts, and those envious thoughts are too much for their divine bodies, unlike ours, which is gross. So these envious thoughts can burn them or kill them and in their life. So that is an unwholesome thought that is happening, which could cost their life. But normally, they keep on looking at each other, and it grows, gradually grows, and at a certain level, that can cost their life, take their life. Then we move on to physical effects of the Sobana mentalities. Chittaja Rupas produced by Sobana, Kusala, and Kiriya Chittas make positive impacts to the body. Due to them, sometimes the body becomes cool and the face becomes very pleasant. That is the reason why appearance of beings who abide in spiritual practice is more pleasant over others. We can see now when our mind is good, happy, and wholesome, it affects our appearance. Why is that? Because Chittaja Rupas are produced, pleasant Chittaja Rupas are produced all over the body, and this affects the Uttaja Rupas, and in the long term, it makes them very pleasant. And at the same time, the person may feel comfort in the body, especially when you have experienced a very good meditation session. We can feel how the body becomes lighter and cooler, and we feel a comfort that we cannot experience. We'll never be able to experience through indulging sensuality. So the spiritual happiness gained through the happiness or the comfort, bodily comfort gained through spiritual practice always surpasses the pleasures gained through the unwholesome consciousness or the happiness in sensuality, right? And so what happened was one day, and this is very obvious, if someone keeps on abiding in good thoughts, that can also increase their health levels. These have been given by, these advices are given by doctors as well. Sometimes they ask the patients to look at fish tanks, because fish tanks are something very soothing and you feel very comfortable with that. Another thing to mention here is the Chittaja Rupas produced by lower Mula Chittas are special here. Normally, they have a very good effect to our body. They have a good effect. They may make our body healthier, and also it can make our body pleasant. So that's why people who are happier with their families, we cannot say that it's only due to low Mula Chittas, because when we are with the family, we have loving kindness towards each other, we have compassion towards the children. So it's a mixture actually, because and also when we are living a happy family life, it means that we have also completed our duties. A happy family life is not only sensual. There is wholesome aspect of it. For example, if in a successful family, spouses speak to each other very pleasantly. They respect each other. They also take care of their children well. Children also respect their parents. At the same time, they have a very cordial relationship, very pleasant bondage, which makes them difficult to cut the bondage. So they are attached to each other. That's obvious. But it's not only Loba Mula Chitta that governs their entire life. There's a lot of wholesome consciousness involved in it. That's why the Buddha mentioned supporting the family is a blessing. Puttadarasa Sangahu. Nyatakanancha Sangahu, supporting the relatives. If you have a very good relationship with the relative, you visit them frequently, take care of them, support them in their needs. So these are all wholesome qualities. So a well-led family life is a mixture of Lobamula Chittas and wholesome Chittas as well. And the Lobamula Chittas, it seems like, are not really harmful to the body compared to the Dosamula. Obviously, Dosamula and Mohamula Chittas are very detrimental to our mind, our body. That's very obvious to us. In the other hand, Lobha-Mula Chittas can be now when a family has a small child born in the family, so everyone feels very happy, and that completely changes the environment of the entire family, and those pleasant feelings that they have, the love, kindness towards the child, can makes their minds very even affect their bodies in a positive way. So some patients are told to associate or to look after such children because it makes their mind very calm, very pleasant and simple. Looking at a fish tank, for example, this can arouse a lot of Lobha-Mula Chittas. At the same time, those Chittas are very pleasant to the mind, and sometimes it can affect the body in a positive way. So some doctors even instruct the people, the patients, to have such to do such activities like looking at a fish tank or to decorating it, because that can make their mind to relax a lot, and that can help the body very positive. That can help their health in a positive way. So anyway, but if you compare the Chittad Rupas produced by Lobha-Mula Chittas with those that are produced by the wholesome Chittas, obviously there is a huge change that can be felt by a good meditator. A good meditator who has had a very good sitting suddenly has Lobha-Mula Chittas towards someone, even though the feeling is very pleasant, the person would immediately feel the change in him. Immediately feel the change in him, because that change from the wholesomeness to the unwholesomeness is a big change, is a drastic change, and how it is felt, the sensations are felt to the body is very obvious. The difference is very obvious. Therefore, we have to say, compared to the wholesome Chittad Rupas produced by wholesome Chittas, the akusala Lobha-Mula Chittad Rupas are in a lower status, in a lower level. Or in terms of the comfort given by wholesome Chittad Rupas are much greater than that is given by the Lobha-Mula Chittad Rupas. Right. So then one day, Venerable Sariputta, seeing Venerable Anuruddha, asked him, Venerable Anuruddha, friend Anuruddha, your faculties are very clear. The color, because the eye, ear, and they are very clear and very clean and obvious. It seems like very shining and so forth. The color of the face is clean and shining. In which meditation abiding do you dwell most these days? Venerable Anuruddha replied that he was abiding in the 4 Satipatthanas those days. So he was practicing the 4 Satipatthanas. So it changed. His appearance was very appealing to others. This positive change in the appearance of Venerable Anuruddha's face and faculties was caused by the Chittad Rupas that arose while he was practicing Satipatthana. So if you are abiding in meditation, obviously, if you have gained a good concentration, this is very clearly we can see in meditation centers. People who go into meditation centers and keep on meditating, their appearance changes, and we would feel a huge change in their body. One reason is while they are meditating mostly meditating in a hole, they are not exposed to the sun. And also being in an enclosed area, your body becomes, the complex becomes very brighter because they are not exposed to the sun much. That's one reason. And also when you have good health habits, because when you're following a good schedule, waking up early morning, going to sleep at time, and having breakfast and lunch on time under a good schedule, and so this would also affects the body positively. At the same time, it's very obvious when someone develops concentration, even though now think about 2 meditators who are following the same schedule, but one develops a concentration strongly, his appearance completely changes. The focus and everything has a very strong effect in their appearance. This is very obvious, and we see it with first-hand experience. There's no argument in that. So that shows that the present consciousness, so wholesome consciousnesses, have a very positive effect in to our body, right? To our body. Then Venerable Chandivale Mahathera has said that the effect of mentalities to the person's mind and the body should be taken as a parameter to decide on deciding whether a certain mentality is wholesome or unwholesome. Chandevela Mahathera says, Redukane Chandevela Mahathera has said, when he is explaining what is wholesome and unwholesome, you can read this in Abhidharma Moolika Karma book. One of the criteria is what is the effects they give. Actually, that can be taken as the one of the most practical criteria that can be experienced on the spot. So what he says is, so these some consciousnesses produce chitta rupas which affect the body positively. So the person feels comfortable due to some consciousness and feels uncomfortable due to some consciousness, and also the mental peace and the tranquility. With some consciousness, you feel the mental, you lose the mental peace, and with you feel it. So these consciousnesses, mentalities that are positively affecting our life should be considered wholesome. The others should be considered unwholesome. So that is a criteria that we can use to decide in deciding the wholesome and unwholesomeness of a mentality, as Mahathera has said. Mentalities which give positive effects are wholesome, while the mentalities which make negative effects are unwholesome. This effect is twofold, as the mental effect of nama dhammas towards the mind and the effect they make to the body by producing chitta rupas. So the mind affects the mind stream, and also the mind affecting the entire body by producing chitta rupas. Now we move on to another topic, another aspect, how these physical effects, physical and mental effects, has been said in the Mahāasapura Sutta. Mahāasapura, the very famous sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. In this sutta, Buddha described the bliss of jhana, the bliss of jhana. The happiness one experiences with the attainment of jhana. This happiness is twofold. Jhana happiness. Jhana causes two types of effects: mental bliss and physical. And mental bliss and physical bliss. So Buddha has given similes on them. Buddha has given similes on them. So how could we explain the mental bliss of jhana? It had to be explained in two ways: due to the existence of certain beautiful mentalities and due to the suppression. Due to the existence of beautiful chetasikas, sobhana chetasikas, suppression of nivarana. So these are the two ways that the mental bliss can be explained. I have also explained it in the previous slide. So the kusala chittupadas, they themselves can affect positively, and also they bring the comfort of suppressing the defilements. So now in jhanas also these two aspects are seen. So for example, the beautiful chetasikas such as piti, sukha, passaddhi, lahuta, mudita, one can surely feel that mental bliss in them. That's obvious. The mental bliss can be felt due to the existence of beautiful chetasikas. And then due to the suppression of hindrances, So when hindrances are suppressed, this creates the freedom from hindrances, and that's a bliss. That's an unconditioned bliss actually, which we attain, and we get out of it when we lose the jhana. So we shall read this. Mental bliss. According to the Mahāasapura Sutta, the comfort of jhanas can be explained in two ways. Mental bliss due to jhanas. This is again twofold as follows: due to the existence of sublime beautiful mentalities, and number two, due to the suppression of hindrances. A yogi who is abiding in jhana experiences a great amount of comfort due to the existence of jnanangas such as piti, sukha, and upekka, and mentalities such as passaddhi, lahuta, and mudita. Right? That's also clear. Then, due to the suppression of hindrances, one needs to suppress hindrances to attain a jhana. At that time, the entire mind stream becomes free from negative effects of nivaranas. The mind stream at that present moment become calm and peaceful when hindrances are suppressed. So at that time, the mind is very calm. This becomes the santa. Mind is calm. Mind becomes santa in two occasions. When the nivaranas are suppressed by jhanas and one attains arahantship, because at that time the mind is completely free from defilements. And when one attains jhana, is the mind, because defilements have been suppressed. The lower parts also causes this santa bhava, but it's not compulsory that some defilements are suppressed, because in jhana the nivaranas are far away from the mind when you attain the jhanas. But as a sotapanna, still the kama raga can be affecting the mind. So it's not a guarantee that the mind is utterly serene when someone attains sotapannahood. It's true that some defilements are not present in him, like sakkaya ditthi, vicikiccha, and so forth, but kama raga is present. But when it comes to anagami level, yes, the mind should be considered very serene. It's should be serener than the person who has a jhana. But at the same time, the ones who have a jhana has a very strong concentration. So that's also affecting the mind in a positive way. So normally it is mentioned in books, two people's mind are serene. That's the person who has attained the jhana and the person who has attained the arahanthood. Right. So then the mind stream at the present moment, this calmness is called upasama sukha. Moreover, due to the suppression of hindrances, the mind stream becomes free from various troubles that would have arisen otherwise. In the Mahasapur Sutta, the Buddha gave similes on the bliss one experiences due to suppressing hindrances. Due to the suppression of hindrances, what kind of a bliss one is experiencing, right? So you have give similes. According to this, suppressing kama chanda is similar to becoming free from debt. So if someone suppresses kama chanda, it's similar to being freed from debt. Be free from debt. Though there is no debt. So when you're free from debt, you feel very relieved. For example, if you have done your work that you are supposed to do at that time, you feel very revealed or released, right? So at the same time, when someone has suppressed the kama chanda is always, it's the mind constantly goes to various objects and craves for various objects, and they start to miss those various objects. That's the nature of kama chanda. So it's always something that is remaining, like something that is missing. So when the kama chanda is suppressed, the person becomes free from such feelings, and he or she can experience the freedom. So that's similar to being free from debt. Then the suppression of vyapada is like being freed from a prison. Sorry, is the cure of a sickness. Healing a sickness. Healing of a sickness. So vyapada is dosa. It's like having a wound in your mind. It's having wound in your mind. So when vyapada is not suppressed, that wound can still keep on arising in our mind. Like it comes up. It's not that we are constantly angry all the time, but still it's there. It keeps on coming frequently. So getting rid of vyapada is like healing a sickness. Vana or abada, right? So it's a healing of a sickness or a wound. I have to double check that actually. Sickness or a wound. Then suppressing vyapada. Suppression of tina midda is similar to being free from prison. Suppression of tina midda. Being freed from prison. When Tina Vidya captures us, it's very difficult to get out of it. It's like we are trapped in a prison that we always like to go into sleep and to spend our time in use like doing nothing. Right? So I try to enjoy the freedom and to be relaxed. So without doing any specific stuff, sometimes we need to be relaxed, but sometimes we can get indulged in that. So and our minds really starts liking to start not to do some wholesome stuff. So it's like getting rid of a prison. And suppression of uddacha kukucha. And kukucha is like being freed from slavery. Slavery. Because if you are a slave, you're always under the order or a influence of the lordship of someone, the slave owner. The person cannot act freely. And especially there's kukucha. One would not be able to freely activate or work on certain wholesome activities. Always the person's mind goes back to what the person regrets. There's some kind of non-freedom in it, right? Non-freedom in it. So it's like slavery. Then vichikicha, suppression of vichikicha is crossing a desert. Because in a desert, anything could happen and it's very suspicious. We don't know what is going to come. A desert means here, Kantara, the term is translated, can be translated as a sand desert or an area, or a large area where there's no much food, no much water, not much water, not much food, and constantly with the day, like haunted by the dangers of thieves and also wild animals, or maybe non-humans. So such dangerous path is a Kantara. So if you are traveling a Kantara, one needs to carry the food and beverages with them, and also some protection. In those days, they're very, very dangerous areas. Even in some countries, still we have, when you cross certain areas, the thieves may attack you, and robbers may plunder your stuff, and all these plunderers may come. So there are such places even in these days as well. So crossing such an area is similar. Suppression of vichikicha is similar to crossing such area, because vichikicha, with the vichikicha, the person is doubtful about the path, about the teacher, whether he's doing the correct thing or not. So it's very difficult for the yogi to solve it by themselves. So if someone has suppressed it with the development of concentration, so that means they have crossed that desert land. So then, yes, finally, suppression of vichikicha is similar to crossing a desert or a land without food, water, and full of danger of thieves and wild animals. All these are comforts achieved with the suppression of hindrances. So this is the mental happiness, mental bliss. Then when we come to the physical bliss, so Buddha has given some very nice similes on the bliss one experiences in each jhana. In the first jhana, simile is the bathing powder. Bathing powder here means in those days, they use, instead of soap, they used a certain powder, chunna, to apply on their body. So the dirt and the smell could be removed. That was so called chunna. And some used to apply some fragrance into it to make it very aromatic. So in now these days, we use, instead of chunna, we are using soap actually. Now, what happens is, those days when you are making the chunna, you have to add water into it. A person who is going to, a student who is going to, normally a student has to make the chunna for the teacher before bathing. That's one of their duties. So now, while making the chunna, they pour water into the powder, and that the water goes inside, spreads in the entire mixture of the powder, entire powder that is being onto which the water has been poured, inside and outside. It spreads in both inside and outside. There's no place, if water is poured well, There's no place, no part of powder that is not being touched by the water. The same way, while the yogi is abiding in the first jhana, the entire body is touched by the pleasant chittaja rupas produced by the first jhana. The chitta jhana produces, every chitta produces chittaja rupas all over the body, but the chittaja rupas produced by the first jhana are very pleasant and very blissful. And there's no part in the body that is not being touched in contact with these chittaja rupas produced by the first jhana. Then the second jhana explanation is about a pond. Pond. The simile is given. There is a pond where there is no streams. Now this is the pond. No streams flowing into it and no rainwater fills it. But there are springs inside this pond. So water comes from these springs and it fills the entire pond. Similarly, this cool water, there is no place in the pond which is not being touched by this cool water coming from within the pond, which fills the pond. Same way, the chittaja rupas that are arising from or due to this second jhana fills the entire body, and there's no part in the body that is not touched by these chittaja rupas. So that's a simile given for the second jhana. And for the third jhana is a very obvious simile. Lotus submerged in water. Now a lotus is growing. Lotus grows in water. This is water. A lotus that is growing has not submerged. Has not emerged from the water. It is within the water. So what happens is there is no place of the water of the lotus from top to the bottom where it is not touched by the cool water. So the entire lotus is covered by the water, or it's been like in contact with the water. So likewise, when someone is abiding in the third jhana, the entire body is covered or affected or touched by these chittaja rupas produced by the third jhana. And the fourth jhana, simile, is a bit, for me, it's a bit strange. Anyway, the simile is given for jhana. The white cloth. White cloth simile. A person covers the entire body with a white cloth. The entire body with a white cloth. So there is no part of the body that is not being touched by that, white cloth. I'll double check that. Yeah, so okay, so it says that I double checked it, and someone has covered the entire body with a white cloth the moment he has taken a bath. So there are two ways that can be interpreted. The white cloth touches every part of the body. So likewise the chitta rupas that are produced by the fourth jhana spreads all over the body and touches the entire body. So in another way, a person who has taken a bath immediately, now the body is very fresh and he covers the entire body with a white cloth. So some kind of coolness releases from his body. That's kind of because he has just taken a bath. So the coolness from the body is the white cloth is touched by that coolness. So likewise, and there is no place in the entire cloth where that utu, that those tejo dhatus coming from the person's body is not touched. So likewise, there is no place in the body of the yogi which is not touched by the present chitta rupas arising from the first jhana. So likewise, these are the 4 examples, similes that Buddha has given about the physical bliss. The Tathagata not only praised the mental bliss attained through jhanas, but also the physical bliss. He gave similes on the physical bliss attained with each jhana. First jhana. The bliss of the first jhana is like water being poured into the bathing powder. Just as the water spreads evenly throughout the powder, both inside and out, the pleasant Rūpa kalapas produced by the first jhana spread throughout the entire body. There is no part of the body is yogi that is not touched by this sensation, by these chitta rupas. Actually, sensations should be changed into chitta rupas. Second jhana. The bliss of the second jhana is similar to water springing from a cool pond. Imagine a pond with no streams flowing into it and no rain filling it. Yet it is full of cool water from its own springs. Every part of the pond is touched by the spring water. In the same way, the pleasant Rūpa kalapas produced by the second jhana fill the entire body with no spot untouched. The third jhana, the bliss of the third jhana is like a lotus flower submerged in a cool pond. The lotus is completely surrounded by the cool water, with no part of it untouched. Similarly, the pleasant Rūpa kalapas from the third jhana permeate the entire body of the yogi. Fourth jhana. The bliss of the fourth jhana can be compared to man covering his entire body, including head, with a white cloth. Just as the cloth touches every part of his body, the pleasant Rūpa kalapas produced by the fourth jhana cover the yogi's entire body, leaving no part untouched. So according to Theravada tradition, this bliss is solely explained based on the Rūpa kalapas produced by each jhana. Rūpa kalapas produced by the jhana and spread all over the body. In the Theravada tradition, the physical bliss experience with jhanas has been explained as a result of the spreading of pleasant chitta rupas produced by the jhanas throughout the entire body. This idea is explained in the Tika of the sutta as follows. I have given you the Pali reference. And also one of the functions of the Piti Chetsika is the Parana Rasa. Parana Rasa is to spread chitta rupas all over the body. Jhana Chittuchadas produce Lahutadi Ekadasaka Chitta Kalapas because we are studying under the chapter of Chitta Rupas. What they produce are Lahutadi Ekadasaka Kalapas. Based on the Theravada fundamentals, it should be noted that a yogi feels the bodily comfort given by the jhanas only after he or she has emerged from the jhana. Because while the person is in the jhana, the person cannot feel the bodily bliss, because if the yogi feels it, it means the kaya vijnana has arisen. The kaya vijnana has arisen. So if kaya vijnana arises, the one gets out of the jhana. So this physical bliss is felt. It's given to the body even during the jhana, but is felt when the person emerges from the jhana. Yeah. So these blisses of the mentality to the body and the to the physical body and to the mind stream are very obvious in the mind, in the consciousnesses. So these the bodily effects are very obvious in our lives. And next time we are going to talk about how Chitta Rupas are affecting the body while we are in a deep sleep. And then we move on to discuss how Chitta Rupas are related with our karma, and also how they are related to our wrong view of a doer, karaka ditti, and that will give us a better perspective about more perspective about the Chitta Rupa. So today we talked about how mentalities cause comfort and discomfort to the mind stream and also to the physical body, and especially with reference to the Asapura Sutta, which talks about how each jhana is affecting the body. I'll conclude the lecture, giving the opportunity for Q&A.
Kamal Jayagudi.
May I ask my question? Blissfulness motivated by something like greed can pave the way for a great achievement like allowed to be a arahat or like that. I am asking so because ascetic Sarada, it is based on Aggasavastu Atakatha. Ascetic Sarada's mind was, he was the ascetic who had achieved highest position in ascetic life. His mind was very blissful when he listened to the vote of thanks made by Nisabha. And later, when the Buddha discourse, Anamadasi Buddha discourse, he couldn't realize the doctrinal facts, and his mind was perturbed by that blissfulness. But so tena paritakkena Maggapativedang Katuna Sakti. That's the part given in the Attakatha. But that blissfulness was the motivation that he wanted to become to determine. He wanted to determine to have a position like that, that of Nisabha. I think that blissfulness, the blissfulness he had was motivated by greed or something infused with greed. I am using the language as a layman, as opposed to doctrinal professionalism. Is it correct to think like that? The blissfulness, like think like that, motivated to infuse it.
Sarada, his name was not Sarada, Sarada, short say, Sa. So Sarada Tapasa listened to Nisabha talk, and he had the inclination to be such a person in future, to be so in future, such in future. And then he couldn't listen to the Buddha's talk with an attentive mind. So what is the bliss you are talking here? I don't understand the point.
No, bliss. His mind was blissful when he listened to that talk made, that word of thanks made by Nisabha. My question is now he decided to have a same position like that of Nisabha because of that motivation, blissfulness. I think behind that blissfulness is greed.
Can be. That depends on the thing. Normally, we call it the kusala chanda. That's how we define it. Kusala chanda, the desire to do kusala to achieve wholesome status. So normally, if someone wishes to be a Buddha or a Pacceka Buddha or Aggasavaka, We don't define it in terms of greed, we define it in terms of kusala chanda. But if someone asks, can't someone wish for make such a wish with an unwholesome greed connected with it? Yes, surely. Time to time, the unwholesome feelings, greed will come. If someone is pursuing such a target, for example, like Aggasavakahood, obviously some attachment towards that position can arise. That's obvious. That's time to time. But normally when they make such a great wish to become such a person, there can be an element of greed which motivates that. But mostly it's the wholesome mindset, because he's wishing for a superior position. It's a good position that can do a lot of benefits to the society, a lot of benefits to the people. For example, even though a person likes like a certain position, if that position is gives the opportunity, if that position is necessary to serve the world, to serve the country, to serve the society, yes, greed can be a motivating factor to reach there. But it's not only the greed, it's not 100% the greed. There is some kind of a wholesome factor also involved in it. So therefore, if someone asks, is it the greed that is driving that wish? I would say no. It's the wholesome chanda, the wholesome desire. But time to time, greed can take over, and greed can arise time to time, considering about that wish. Because now we can wish for nibbana with a greedful mind. It's possible. Because only the nibbana as an ultimate reality cannot be an object of greed. What we wish is a concept of nibbana, because we haven't experienced the nibbana yet. We consider it, and kind of an idea comes to our mind, which is not an ultimate, which is not the actual nibbana. It's just a concept. It's some kind of a idea that is coming to our mind, but we are referring to the actual nibbana with a different conceptual idea. So this conceptual idea can be an object of greed, possible, the way one considers. But if someone considers nibbana as it is, in his actual nature, mostly it cannot be greed, because it is the destruction of the greed. Normally, the destruction of greed is not wish by greed. That's the normal procedure. That's how the mind works. But if someone asks, can't greed arise to personally I think it's possible. So it's obviously possible to have greed towards all these positions like Buddhahood, Sammasa, Pacceka Buddha, and all these. But normally a person is driven to such places, such positions, by the kusala chanda, not by the greed. So rather than saying that, so the bliss, he became, there's no statement, I don't remember the one became blissful listening to his talks. It says that he was happy, obviously. If you give me one moment, I'll go to the story itself. It's in Anguttara Nikaya, Sariputta Moggallana. So he had a desire. It's not a bliss that is mentioned. He has a desire. Vitakko udapa, chittang udapad. Aho vatahampi anagate uppajjanakassa buddhassa sasana iminava savakena ladda durang labhiyanti. So it's good that I also attain that same position obtained by this Venerable. So that kind of a chitta arose him. So tena parivitakkena maggipala pativedang katun nasakti. Because of that thought, he was not able to focus well on the Buddha's talk. Vikitta chittattha, his mind was scattered, and he was constantly, like, while listening to the Buddha's talk, he was also thinking about his wish. So that's That's the difference it happened. So he was distracted by the wish he made, and it doesn't say that he had some kind of a blissful feeling. Obviously, he might have a blissful feeling, listen to his talk. He might have felt very happy listening to him and made a wish to become him. But it doesn't say that there was a blissful feeling or he felt very comfortable listening to his talk. So he had a feeling, may I also become such a monk? That's the thought it came. So one can assume that there was a happy feeling. Obviously, they had to have a happy feeling. That's why he made such a wish towards that, and that is mostly kusala chanda we term. But if someone says, can't there be loba mixed in it? Yes, time to time is obviously possible, but it's mostly the kusala chanda that makes that wish.
Thank you, Theravadan Sarana.
May I ask the question, sir? Actually, my question is about what you said. With even Loba Mula Chittas, there can be some kind of a blissfulness you mentioned. But really, last class when you were conducting, actually it was very, I mean, I experienced something which is very, very unique. Just before you started the class, I was with our Dhamma teacher, and he was having his last breath. But the medical doctor who was present there said that he might take maybe few minutes or maybe even few hours to go into complete passing away from that situation. So I returned to my kuti, and then it was 8 o'clock the time, and I started listening to your lecture. And you started talking about breathing once again in that lecture. And then I got absorbed into your teaching. But maybe it didn't take even 10 minutes. I got a call saying that Andro passed away. So I went back. My question is, I saw him very clearly having his last breath. And the feeling I got is it is completely, I mean, he was lying on a sofa with the belly up, and we could see very clearly the movement of the belly as well as the chest, and the last few breaths were taken with greatest difficulty. So you could see the compression and even the little bit of a struggle with his mouth to take the air in and take it out. So immediately the idea I got was this is not Lokuhamdro, but he still has the Jivita Nikantiya. So it is that craving which causes all these bodily movements and trying to keep the body living for even a few more minutes. So by combining with what you said today, so it is really the craving or the loba, loba mula chitta, or the jivita nikantiya, what we call, is the thing which drives that. But in spite of that, being a well meditated monk, he was very calm, and he was even conscious enough to say, now I am passing away. And with that, he closed his eyes. So he was conscious to the last second or last fraction of a second. So how do we look at that? I mean, what is your explanation to what I observed is really my question.
Yeah, struggling for breath is not always due to loba, because if someone strangles a arahant, he would still struggle for breath. Struggle for breath is not in the sense of needing as we want, but as a biological process, it would still grasp for breath, because it's something that is necessary for even while we are asleep. Still the body needs the breath. So because it's a biological process going on, even one has eradicated the defilements. So it's a biological process, regardless of the person's mind state. The breathing happens, and if there is a lack of breathing or some kind of mechanism to take the oxygen into the body, surely the body will struggle. The body would struggle. Jivata Nikanti is necessary for the continuation of the mind stream after one life. So the mind stream which drops down at close to the death is being upheld by the Jivata Nikanti, so it doesn't get terminated, or it doesn't terminates at the end of the life. So sometimes of a Putujana, when we are struggling for breath, yes, it can be mixed. Obviously, since the attachment to the life has not been removed. For example, if someone strangles me, surely I would struggle to breathe, and lobha and dosa would surely come. Actually, mostly dosa arises with fear and trying to get the breath and to survive, and that is triggered by lobha. The dosa is triggered by lobha, and it indicates that when dosa is there, kama raga is present. Present means is uneradicated, because dosa is the outcome of kama raga. So I would say that struggling of a breath for breathing is not always driven by lobha. It's a biological process going on, but when it happens to a putujana or a non-arahant, normally the feelings get mixed with it. So it's very difficult to differentiate these two. But if we start to stop the breathing of an arahant, the same would happen. So the body would struggle, but he would not, that conscious contribution for that struggle would not be there, because he's not in search of that. But as a physical need, the body would keep on struggling, and that's the process as well. Because even someone becomes an arahant, the body is automatically processing to breathe. So there's a struggle always going on, in and out. If suddenly it stops, then it starts to find out the breath. It's a biological thing, regardless of the body's mind's influence on it, as far as I see. So yes, that's how I would answer that.
Okay, thank you very much, Bhante. Thiruvan Saran.
Thiruvan Saranai Bhante. Can I have a question?
Yeah.
Thank you for teaching today about the jhana, please. And so may I have a quick question about the Upama of the Mahāvihāra Sutta? It's like for the fourth, there are only four jhana, right? I don't feel like I don't see the logic of the simile really about the bliss. So yeah, so suddenly from the bathing powder until the water, the stream in the pond, and then the lotus, I see the third jhana there is more submerging, right? And then suddenly the white cloth. So what do you think is the logic the Buddha say about this kind of jhana bliss in the body? Can you make it clear?
The same thought arose me while I was making these handouts, Sinhalese one and the English one, because a long time ago, few years back, the Sinhalese one, and yesterday, while I was making the English handout, the same thought arose in him. I myself didn't like the fourth simile. I expected a much greater bliss in it. So if I go to the commentators are also silent on it. They haven't said anything. Why this sudden change from water, things related to water, and we can see how the bliss is being deepened, and then suddenly we move into a white cloth, and white cloth is not touching the, for example, it's very difficult to say that the entire body is touched by the white cloth, because there are certain shapes in our body, so obviously some places would not be touched unless it's been wrapped very tightly. So the first example, there are two ways that this can be explained. So why they used white clothes is to show that the mind is very pure, because it's the fourth jhana. It's free from somanasa, domanasa, and it's pure from all the defilements. That's why the simile, the cloth was white instead of any other color. Then odatena vattena idang utuparanattang uttang. So the first explanation seems a bit okay. Utuparanatta means the coldness that is emitted from my body. Since the person has just, from the person's body, the person has just took a bath, and it emits some coolness from the body. So when we are wearing a cloth covering our entire body, this coolness is going to is affected. It's like touching the entire cloth. So there is no place in the cloth that is not being touched by this coldness. And the commentators say, Kilittavattena hi utuparana nohoti. This doesn't happen if the cloth is dirty. Tankana dota parisuddena utuparanam balavang hoti. So tankana dotena parisuddena. If the cloth is washed immediately and made clean, at that time the utuparana is the accepting the coldness from the body is very happens obvious. It's balavang, it's stronger. Imissai upmaya vattangya karajakayo. So in this example, in this simile, cloth should be the body should be, cloth is the body. Cloth should be taken as the body. Utuparanangya chatutta jhana sukhang. The bliss is the of the fourth jhana is the coldness that is emitting from the body. Tasma yata sunha tassa purisassa parisuddhang vattan sasijam parapitta nisinnatta sarirato utu sabbhamevam parati. So a person who has taken a good bath and covered the entire body with a cloth, his coldness that is emerging from his body touches the entire cloth. Then there is no such a place that is not touched by that coldness. Evan chatuttajjana sukena bhikkhuno karajakayasana kochi okaso aputto hoti iti emettatto dattabbo. So there is, in the same way, there is no place in the body of the yogi who is abiding in the fourth jhana where it is not touched by the chittaja rupas. Then another example, another way to look at this is chatuttajjana chittameva vattang vihoti. Chatuttajjana chittameva vattang. So because the chatuttajjana is the previously the cloth became the body. Utuparana, this coldness is the spreading of coldness is the sukha. Then the other way of interpretation is the cloth is the fourth jhana. Tam samuttana rupang utuparanang viyahot. Tan samuttana rupang utuparanang viya. Yatahi kattachi odata vatte kayang apussantassepi tan samuttanena utuna sabbattakame kaya putto hoti. Tan samuttan rupang utuparanang viya. Yatahi kattachi odata vattena kayang apussantepi tamusantran tan samuttanena utuna sabbattakame kaya putto. Oh, then there's another way of interpreting. That seems okay. I think I made a mistake in the lecture. So the cloth is the fourth jhana, and then that cloth is wet. Cloth is wet, and that cloth is emitting some coldness. That cloth is emitting some coldness. Yatahi kattachi odata vatte kayang apussantepi tamus samuttanena utuna sabbattakame kaya putto hoti. So even though the cloth is not touching the parts of the body, its coldness emitting from that wet cloth is touching the entire body. Evang chatuttajjana samuttitena sukuma rupena sabbattakam bikuno karajakaya putto hotiti evamatta baddhattabbo. So it says that now we have to change the simile. I will change the handout next day. The cloth is wet and the person is covering the body with a wet white cloth, and that coldness of the cloth is touching the entire body. He is inside a cold cloth. It's inside the cold wet cloth. So the entire body becomes cold, and that cold Rūpa Kalapa touching the entire body. So if we take in that way, it makes some sense. But still, third jhana bliss seems to be much greater according to similes, as far as I see. Maybe is it because there is no sukha in the fourth jhana, so the bliss would be somewhat different. Maybe that's the reason. I have no idea no other way to explain that.
Sadhu. Thank you so much, Bhante.
I think the second way of explanation makes sense, right?
Yes. About the beginning of the lecture, Bhante said that the mind affect the body in three ways. Can I ask quickly about this? First is by the mind stream, second is by the base, and third is to make the Chitta Charupa that affect the entire body. About the base, can Bhante elaborate a little bit on that, please?
There's not much. It's like the base become burnt. Burn means heated, because that if it's a physical effect. Because if chitta can produce chitta rupas, because the nature of the chitta rupas produced by the chitta greatly depend on the nature of the chitta. Like if certain chitta rupas are produced by a certain chitta, the nature of the chittas greatly affect the nature of the chitta rupas. So there it seems like there is a non-physical to physical contact relationship. In the same way, if chitta rupas, if a certain chitta is associating a certain base, it also affects the base very much. You can see this example in the Buddha story. When he was contemplating Abhidhamma, mind became pure and his heartbeat became pure. So the blood became very pure. So the entire body became pure in the end, subsequently, and rays were emitted. Remember the story? So likewise, so when this lineage comes from direct to nama to rupa, instead of producing chitta rupas and affecting the rupa, directly from nama to rupa, the first reality that is affected would be the heart base. So that heart base is associating blood, and then it affects the blood, and that blood affects the entire body. So this link can be seen in that causal event.
Yes, thank you so much, Bhante.
Okay, we'll conclude the lecture today. Yeah. Thank you for listening to today's lecture. And next time we are going to discuss about the chitta rupas produced during sleep, deep sleep actually. So hope you enjoyed the lecture, and may this merit of discussing Dhamma and Vinaya helps us to attain the liberation as soon as possible, and also for the longevity of the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu. Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu. Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Theruvan Saranai Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.